Good morning, afternoon, evening, good night, whatever it is, wherever it is, it's good. It's good to be here because we're here, we're all here, and we're here together. And that's the fun part stuff about it. And yes, we are on the right side of the dirt. Um, as you can already tell, we're going to do something a little different today because it's been something that's been on my mind um, increasingly. And if you've been a follower, a listener, a watcher of this, then you know that a lot of times I like to just, like the title says, faith from the hip, go straight from whatever has been on my mind or whatever's been bothering me, whatever we've been thinking about, and run with it. And since I was a young man, um, identity has been popping up here and there throughout my life. And now as an older young man, uh, it's been popping up again, and you know, it's something important. It was important when I was just a single young man. It was important when I became a married young man, and it's important now that I'm a married older young man and have a family. And so we're going to do something a little different. We're going to take a small break. Forgive me if you're looking for life principle number 14, which is really good. They're all great. I was going over it again the other day and went over it last night. Yeah, we're padding the bill, if you will. We're gonna throw this one in there today, and then hopefully tomorrow we'll do another one. Jump back on track with life principle number 14. But as I mentioned before, life happens. Man plans and God laughs. So we work at His will, and this is what He said to be done. So it's going to be done today. Um, as I said, identity. Um, as a young man, I am of mixed race, if you couldn't tell, and it doesn't matter if you can or can't, because it doesn't really matter. But it's not meaningless. Um, when I was in high school, um, they were taking the census in school, and I'll never forget. This was my second high school that I was in, and it came around during our clothing class. Yes, I took clothing. My grandmothers, my aunts, some of my cousins were successful seamstresses. You know, awesome on a sewing machine, awesome with a needle and thread. So what am I going to do? Am I going to take a class that I know I'm going to fail, or am I going to take a class that I know I've got an edge in? I took a class I knew I had an edge in. Boom, only dude in there, had no problems. Um, but they were doing the census one day, and the teacher called me up and asked what basically, I think, yeah, because I had checked off two boxes and where it asked for race. And I, excuse me, at that point, I think I was a junior, maybe a senior, and I refused even then, which was the mid 90s, to check off other. Well, I'm not other. I have an identity. Why should I be other when you're not making, when you've got all the other boxes that I could be checking off? I'm not picking one over the other. So I marked off both, and I think back then it was still PC to say black and white. It should still be, oh, you're African American and he's Caucasian. No, you're black, you're white, you're red, you're yellow, you're purple, you're black, you're green. I could be any of these colors. So the teacher calls me up and she says, well, you have to pick one over the other. And Mrs. Royal, God bless her, she was great. She was great. Um, Shout out to my Burlington City alumni. Anybody who's watching and remembers Miss Royal knows that she was a beautiful young lady to have as a teacher and mentor. Um, but she was an older black woman, and she told me that I had to pick one over the other. Now, I had to be a senior because there was a couple underclassmen in there who were chiming in, um, and it was interesting to think about it. These kids were younger than me, and this, I say young lady, she was obviously older, probably in her 60s, teacher who was older than the both of us, me and the underclassmen, were both on the same page. Now, I don't know if it's forgive me if I sound racist or out of touch. I don't know if it's a cultural thing, whatever. but they were both on the same page. And that page was, if you have any bit of, and I'm just going to be blunt, the way we speak is the way we speak, and the way we spoke then is how we spoke then. They said, if you have any amount of black in you, then you are 100% black. I said, well, that math ain't mathing. 2 plus 2 don't equal taco. I love tacos, but it doesn't equal taco. Exactly. So at that point, my mind is going, so you're telling me I have to pick one over the other. That didn't sit right with me. Not then, not any time after that. That was just before I graduated, so I guess it was 1994. Old, yes. And it stuck with me. But I rejected that thought and that idea back then. Fast forward several, well, it wasn't even that long. It was probably about 98 when I was working in the auto industry. There was a gentleman out there, and again, shout out to any of my former coworkers that I've worked with or in the building with back in the Reedman days, not Reedman Toll, but Reedman Auto World, back when it was better. We had a gentleman out there, one of the technician, one of the foremans, had an interesting voice, one you can never forget. And he was an active young man. I say young, he's older than me. By the name of Fred. Fred was a good guy. And he was always trying to share wisdom with the younger people. And I think he took a special liking to me at first sight. It's like crazy people can smell their own. Mixed people can usually smell their own too. So he came to me one day and he goes, "Hey, young man, I want to talk to you." And he started asking about, who I married and who, because at that time, we were expecting soon. And he gets on this thing now, again, nothing against this man or the choices that he made, but he was basically, in a kind way, trying to tell me that I needed to choose one over the other. And he made it seem, and maybe it's just the way I felt, and this is just my perspective, he made me feel as if, and he flat out said he married a black woman so his children would have an identity because he was mixed race. So again, this is my wheels turning, and it took me back to that conversation I had with my high school teacher. And he's telling me, yeah, I married a black woman so my children have an identity. I'm going, well, okay. So are you saying that I don't have an identity? Are you trying to say that my children aren't going to have an identity? And that I rejected that idea then too. I rejected that thought back then, because if I didn't have an identity, I wouldn't be here. God doesn't put people on this planet. God doesn't allow women to birth children and people who don't have an identity simply based off of what their, I'm probably going to use the wrong term, but their ethnicity, their race, whatever. You have an identity. Your identity is whatever you came out of that womb as. You are a naked black kid. You are a naked white kid. You are a naked mixed kid. You're a naked Mexican. You're a naked Indian. You're a naked Chinese. Whatever. That's your identity. And it didn't sit right with me. And, and we've come up through the 2000s now, and there's a lot of shouting about representation. We need representation. Not everybody needs representation. Some of these made up, goofy ideas. Yeah. Gleep glorp some whoop-de-doos. You don't need representation.
Whatever Ariel had.
Right. Those of us who are here, what we are, we're not other. And I started seeing it in the early 2000s where, there's more check boxes on these census things, or when you're filling out paperwork for a doctor or surgery or whatever the case is, no longer do I have to worry about other. No longer do we have to worry about reading through things saying, pick one or two, or pick one. That doesn't work. That's only suiting the people who are putting this stuff out. I'm not getting into that. We start getting into politics, and that's not where I'm going. It was just, and growing up, I was shown things quite often, about, being a young black man, young black male, and I appreciate it. Now that I didn't reject, that I didn't have a problem with because it's part of who I am. But when you tell somebody that you have to pick, or that, simply because you are mixed, you are black.
Telling someone to deny what they are.
Right. That's like being born male or female and trying to live your life as something
As
else.
an armadillo.
Right. Oh, I'm an attack chopper. I'm a mailbox. No, that's delusional, and it doesn't honor my parents. Honor thy father, honor thy mother. It took two of them to make me, and personally, I get to enjoy both sides. Sadly, the time that we're in now, you can say, and you should say, I'm black and I'm proud. And that's perfect. That's beautiful. You can and you should say, I'm Mexican and proud. I'm Chinese and proud. I'm Filipino. I'm Jamaican. I'm whatever, and proud. God bless you. But we've come so far in the wrong direction with a lot of things that, if I opened my mouth and said, I'm black and I'm proud, I'm also white and I'm proud, somebody's going to jump on me and go, well, that's racist. You can't be white and proud.
They'll not even use the term racist correctly.
Exactly. Our language, our words, our everything has been hijacked in modern times. And it's a little worrisome, at times. I was just speaking briefly on, what I experienced, and I say I don't like the script stuff, but I wrote a few notes down. Exactly. I scribbled down some talking points, so that way we got something to jump off with. We have something to speak about, and just maybe something that it's going to evoke, some questions, some thought that maybe we can get going in the chat. Well, in the comments section. I'm old. Hey, a member at church needed my phone number today, and I go looking for a pen and a Post-it. My wife and my daughter are looking at me going, just hand them your phone, or just say, all right, give me your number and put it in the phone. I'm old, man. Sorry, I don't exchange numbers. That's just the way it is. But that is just basically a quick overview on how I felt about it, how it makes me feel, what I thought about it. And I've been blessed to have somebody here today, and for a number of years, who even recently has had, I don't want to say an issue, but has had an experience with identity. And thank God, it was something that, it hit me, and I'm like, we can talk about this. Let's get together. Let's do this. Let's talk about it. And, let's start getting some representation out there, a little bit. Stop with all this. If you're any little bit of this, then you're all that. If you're any little bit of this, then you're all that. The math ain't mathin', and that's not honoring your parents. That's not honoring your grandparents, your great grandparents. That's not honoring what they have come through, what they endured. We did 23andMe. I am the product. Even my wife, we are products of both slave and slave owner. We are products, my family, even my wife's family, we trace back. There could have been some devious things that had occurred between, owner and slave. I don't like saying master and slave. I don't even like saying slave, but there were some devious acts that were going on. But we're here today. And I can't deny what was there. Just like when I'm standing in that line to vote, and it's winding and it's winding and it's winding. And I got done working that day, and I'm tired, and my knees hurt, my back hurts. I just want to lay down. I have people who had died, people who were tortured, murdered and killed, people who were tortured, kidnapped, tortured, and killed, were people who look like me and darker, who wanted to vote, women who wanted to vote, dark-skinned women, black women who wanted to vote. So I'm going to go out there and vote. Whether my vote counts or not in the scheme of things, the fact that somebody before me was out there and put their lives on the line and lost their lives and were tortured and were chastised and hosed down by police and firefighters or whoever, bit by dogs. And no shade. It was a different time.
No tea, no shade.
Right. And not all the people are the way they are. You know, I've got law enforcement. I've got, emergency first responders on all over the family. And they're not turning the hose on anybody who ain't deserving of it. Okay. So yeah, I'm gonna vote. I'm gonna check off 2 boxes or more. Because I am, like Popeye said, I am who I am. And above all else, I am God's child. And after that, I am doggone unforgettable. So I'm going to stop running my mouth now and turn it over to my friend right here, Shan. We got a little surprise at the end of this. Because what she had spoke about the other day, it really, it touched my heart. It landed on my ears just right. And it touched my heart, even though she was a little upset at one time. I was like, she gets it. It's like when Luke realized, oh man, Vader is my dad. Oh, crap. Right. That's impossible. So I wanted to, when you finished work the other day and, you had a moment where you're upset about things, about, being in the middle, I guess you could say. There is no, yes, there is a black and a white, we're not talking about race and ethnicity and things like that, but life is black, life is white, but there is a gray, just like we're, gray matter. We, mixed people, you could say, are the gray in life. And I just wanted to, get your feedback, your opinion, maybe like I just did, run through some of the things that you experienced. Because I can only go on it from, a young man's perspective growing up, high school in the 90s versus high school in the 2000s and, being a female who, for all, intents and purposes for this podcast, we'll say, is in the gray.
Mm-hmm. And I'm wearing it.
And you know what? I can't keep my mouth shut too long. So surprise, surprise. This is my daughter.
We were gonna slip up at some point. Anyway,
yeah, because we're both bucket mouths.
I want to be like, remember? Oh, yeah.
Right. So there you go. Surprise, surprise.
Mm-hmm. Could you tell?
Right. You can't tell. If my son was here, I'd have him poke his head in here. Now we look alike. And right, all 3 of my kids are like 3 different shades, but they are all mixed, and it's a beautiful thing.
And the white boy is a quarter black.
And
compared to the one with the afro and tan skin.
Right. And, we've all done our 23andMe's. And
Ancestry DNA, 23andMe sells your information to the government.
Yeah, well, we already knew that. They made it so available for people people are spitting in this tube and they're sending their information away. Man, let's lower the prices and let's get them to send us that information so we can write it down somewhere in a big book. And yeah.
Before we veer off.
True. So, speak on that, kid.
I'll start the day I was born. I don't remember this too much, but Mom remembers this story, and this would be, I guess, my first instance of identity crisis or whatever. I was 6 or 7 in school and walking around, yada yada. Dad, you either drop me off or you pick me up or whatever was going on. Kid asked me, hey, why is your dad brown and you're not? I didn't piece 2 and 2 together. You're just my dad. Right. I'm chilling. We're children. I go home, and of course I ask Mom, why is Daddy brown and I'm not? So of course she explains, Daddy's mixed race. He's black, white, and Native American, not just biracial, 3 things. And, Mommy's white, and you came out looking like this. So you're mixed race. Again, I don't remember this. I was a child. Apparently, I started crying. I didn't understand. I didn't want to be something I didn't understand, I guess, because that whole time, because, again, I was 7. I just knew I'm a big sister. I'm Shannon. I'm a big sister.
Yeah.
That's all I knew as a kid. I knew my favorite color was blue, and I like to draw, and I like watching Cartoon Network because I was 7. Um, Now, even when you get into 2026, there's still instances like that. Like a couple months ago, in my place of employment, I'm very open about who I am. Like, my mom works there, my dad comes in and picks me up. So, of course, I get the looks of like, oh, is that your stepdad? No, 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 that's my dad. And of course, I pull up the Facebook, I go through all the pictures, and they're like, oh, okay, cool, cool, cool. I would like to say there are a few other mixed race individuals like me. There's a young lady who's mixed race, black and white, and she is darker than my father. And there's a girl who's also half black and half white, and she's just as white as me. Um, but a couple months back, I was working with 2 other individuals who are black, and they know what I am. So I was just like, oh yeah, no, mixed race, black, white, Native American. And they both said, remember 2026, they both said, oh, you have a little bit of black in you, then you're just black. No, you met my mom.
Right.
And also, respectfully, like, look at my skin as well. I'm just going to say I'm mixed race. There's also been times in the past where I have said, oh, I'm black. And people have told me, no, you're not.
Right.
No, you're not. You can't join this African American club. Your skin is white. But then would possibly let my sister in because she's got tan skin and an afro.
Right.
But her and I are the same percentage of black in Ancestry DNA. We just look different. I was thinking about this when you were talking about Reedman, about, oh, I married a black woman, so my kids would have an identity, blah, blah, blah. They were only thinking about skin color.
Right.
Because back then, they're only thinking of, oh, you look, well, most people think you're Puerto Rican,
Yeah.
but you look, if you would say, oh, a mixed race individual, I'm thinking of you, I'm thinking of someone who's a caramel macchiato color, like a light tan color, you know what I mean?
Mocha.
Yeah. I've met mixed race individuals who are half black and half white and have been as dark as mocha. I
Yeah.
have met mixed race people who are as white chocolate mocha.
Right.
They don't understand that science isn't specific.
Right.
It's not, science and math don't always go hand in hand
Genetics
with each other.
do what they want.
Exactly. My hair right now looks fairly straight, but if I were to wash it, it curls right up. My brother, if he were to grow his hair out, it turns into like a shaggy skater dude looking thing, but if he keeps it short, it's tight like a sheep's butt.
Yeah. Nappier than a sheep's behind.
And my sister has a full-on afro.
Yeah.
She's got the tight curly
Very
hair.
tight spirals.
But
She got
also,
the good hair.
when she was younger, you could tell that she had mixed race hair because the top half of her hair was super curly, and the bottom half of her hair, for some reason, could not get wet, but were looser curls.
Yeah. Sort of like my head. I had curls, big loose curls, like my son when he was younger, but the back of my head was always like straight.
The back of my head is straight, but in front of my hair, it curls up real bad. And then, of course, on TikTok and Instagram, they're talking about, oh, Irish curls, Appalachian curls, blah, 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 blah. Not everything needs a label.
Yeah.
Just, I have hair. I have unruly hair. Nothing works.
Right.
I've tried everything. I live with it. But there were also times as I mentioned, in high school, people wanted to do an African American club, and I was like, oh, I want to join. And they're like, no, it's for people who, like, are African American, who are black, not part whatever. And I'm like, but that person over there is like 80% Hispanic and like 20% black. So what are you talking about?
And they're just going off of looks.
They're just going off looks. I've been told before, like, oh, I thought you were trying to steal our culture, blah, 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 blah. I'm American.
Not
My
a culture
culture is
vulture.
American.
Right.
If I'm talking to people about hair, I'm trying to get information. Like, with my sister for prom, I talked to the black girls at work because no one there, I think there's one person, maybe 1 or 2 people who are just African American, who are just black, or just Hispanic, but there's a lot of other mixed race individuals like me, black and white, black and Hispanic, Blasian, Hispanic and white, everything. There's everything there. So I ask questions because I don't know how to do my sister's hair. There's people who have hair similar to my sister. I'm going to ask questions.
Right.
I'm going to ask every single little question. And also the school that I went to, we had everybody.
Oh yeah, melting pot.
My friend group was a mix of everybody. There were white and Mexicans and black and like black French and Haitian, Dominican, Filipino and Trinidadian and white. There's everybody. So everyone was friends with everyone.
Yeah.
So I went to school over in the Western PA when I graduated in 2018, predominantly white area. Not saying I wasn't used to it, but like I wasn't used to it.
Right.
There weren't many people of color there, many black people there, and I've noticed growing up, people flock towards who they look like.
Yeah.
Instead of flocking towards like, oh, you don't look like me, but I like that pin on your bag. I'm
Right.
gonna say something, you know? I'm friends with nearly everyone that I work with, and we all have something in common, whether it be fashion, whether it be anime, whether it be music, whether it be complaining about the guests that come into this job. We have something in common. And none of us have ever been like, oh, you're racist, or oh, you don't like that. We all know what we can say, we all know what we can't say, we all respect each other, and we all laugh about it at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And there's been so many people who have denied me in my mixed race, and so many people who have been people of color who have said, oh yeah, girl, you're mixed race, you're cool, you're one of the cool ones. I've been called, the funny white friend for so long, and then I let them know, hey, I'm mixed race. And it's always, oh, I knew there was something, you had a little bit of spice in you, there was something.
Right.
Or they're always like, oh, I could tell by your nose. I'm like, oh, funny, cool. Right, I have my grandfather's nose.
Yeah.
But then when I smile, it widens out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joe knows.
Mm-hmm.
There were times when she was little and I got a lot of stares.
Mm-hmm.
She's very light skinned when she was a
paler
baby.
than what I am now.
Alabaster white.
Mm-hmm.
And
dark hair.
I carried this kid everywhere. I didn't let her walk on concrete until she was about 7 years old because I didn't want got to protect the face, right? Skin the knees, skin the palms, whatever. Protect the face.
Until I knocked my tooth out.
Just before picture day. And I used to
my head in.
carry her, go to the supermarket and we're checking out. So you got to take your kid out of the cart. So I'm sorry for all the shadowing. Take your kid out of the cart and I'm holding her. And, she was the only child at the time. So it was like, oh, I want this, this bouncy ball, let's say. And okay, no problem. So, you go to Acme. That's right. We're from the Philly area. You go to the Acme and kid, they got to put the sticker on it that says paid. Or the Walmart. So you got to put this paid sticker on there. And time again, this has happened where the clerk goes, okay, hang on. Let me just borrow the ball for a moment. Let me put the sticker on there so nobody thinks that mommy and mommy's friend stole this. And, I got a chuckle out of it because I tried to keep the heart light. What's it going to do if, headphone warning, what's it going to do if I went, oh, what are you trying to do? You're trying to assume that I'm doing this and I'm stealing and I can't be this person and I can't be her dad. No.
Working in retail, you got a 50-50 shot of
pissing somebody off. Excuse my language.
No matter what you say, it's like, I'm going to choose the one I'll probably get yelled at the least for. Right.
There was an instance where I was helping my cousins and my aunt and uncle. Something was going on at their church. This was in the 90s. I wasn't even graduated yet, so it was early 90s. And my cousins, this was on my mother's side of the family. We're kind of close in age. They're 3 years, 4 years, and I think 6 years behind me. So we're all old now. We're all in our 40s. But I never looked at them any different. They never looked at me any different. I don't know what it's like to have 3 brothers that close to me, or 3 cousins that close to me, but I know what it's like to have 3 brothers that were that close to me growing up. They were just, we did everything together. So we're helping out, setting tables, bussing tables and stuff for what was going on in the church that day. And the person who was, I guess, the facilitator wanted to thank everybody, and they thanked my family by name, and Sue, Uncle Jerry, Sue and Jerry, thank you, and the boys, the Ketterer boys, and the other gentleman. So,
cousin.
Right. Now, they didn't know who I was, and I certainly don't look like my cousins. And the church that we were at, I stood out from everybody. They whack. I don't care. But it was one of those things that thank God that you can laugh at it. You laugh or cry. I'm tired of crying. I don't want to cry no more. I want to laugh. But that was an interesting experience to where for the next several years, we would joke around, and I, God bless her, my aunt is I don't think she was at that time, but she's a pastor now. She joked about it then. We joke about it now. Hey, we're inviting everybody over for dinner, and and bring the other gentleman too.
Yeah, tell them about watermelon.
I was getting there.
Yeah.
I was getting there. This is great. Kind of miss it. Every summer for a good while, my aunt would hold my aunt and uncle would hold essentially a family reunion. And this is all through text. So a lot could be lost and a lot could be ensued or insinuated through a text, adding your own ideas or, even your attitude into it could change things around. But we're, we get the invite and we're like, all right, cool. Normally everybody brings the same thing year after year. So that way you could just, the Smiths are bringing this one, the Johnsons are bringing this, the Adamsleys are bringing this. We got it, no problem. But I like to be 100% sure. I get, anxiety is a little bit of a problem sometimes. So I text back, great, wonderful, we'll be there. Thanks for the date. Thanks for the invite. What should we bring? Now my aunt responds with, don't you people normally bring the watermelon? So
Yes.
I respond with, well, geez, Aunt Sue, I don't know how to answer that vaguely racist statement, but yeah, we normally do bring the watermelon.
And we will bring it. And we pick a good one every time.
And we brought the watermelon. We
can
had
sniff it out.
such a laugh. It's
funny.
such a good time.
We didn't get offended by that because it's funny because it's true.
Exactly.
We bring the watermelon.
And then
and she didn't mean it like that either.
No.
But it was funny.
And her response was, oh, are you a different color from me? I needed something to throw. That was the perfect response.
I can't remember the actors' names. I want to say it was one of the it was Culkin. I'm not sure if it was Macaulay or Killian, but he was doing an interview with, I don't know his name. I want to say he played Joe Jackson.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know his name, but I know the actor.
Just without all that makeup. I think that's who
crazy
it is.
eyes.
They were having a conversation. It was good. Like it wasn't even banter. They were joking back and forth. They were having a good conversation. And he goes, "Oh my God, you're whatever age. I couldn't tell. You're so young." And he goes, "Yeah, I'm black." And he goes, "Oh, you're black? I couldn't tell." And he goes, "Oh, you couldn't tell." No. I don't see things like that. But they're joking around, and it's just like, oh, funny,
Yeah.
People aren't like that nowadays.
No.
I had a funny conversation with a new, we call them green beans over at where I work, a training barista. They are a person of color, and we talked about anime. We talked about like Neatos. We talk about they used to work at Wawa, so we talk about Wawa. So we have a handful of things in common, and they're a fairly nice person. We get along well, work super well. We were talking about anime, and they said, as a young I think they said as a young African American person, Dragon Ball Z was always there. And I was like, we've had this conversation a couple of years ago. And I go, yes, because you guys are only allowed to watch Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, or One Piece / Bleach. And they agreed with me. And we started joking about it. And it wasn't something they took offense to because they also knew that I was mixed race as well. Again, I'm very open about that because like me and Lay talk about it. Oh, I just said one of my coworkers' names. She's cool. She's one of the mixed race individuals as well who's a little bit tanner than my father. Her and I, talk and we giggle all the time, and she's also open about being mixed race as well. So like it just kind of naturally comes up in conversation. And same with another coworker, just naturally comes up in conversation. So the newest barista already knew. But we were able to have that fun banter back and forth. We're able to like have that fun like joking aroundness. I will also say I feel like South Park helped a lot as well.
Yeah.
Because nobody is
satire.
Safe. It's satire.
Yep.
Nobody's safe. Everyone's got flaws. Everyone is wrong, essentially, at the end of the day. Nobody is right. No one's better than anyone else. We're all people on this planet Earth.
Trying to find our way.
Exactly. None of us know what's coming next. I don't know what I'm having for dinner. I know what I'm ordering. I don't know if it's what I'm gonna get.
Pho.
Yes. Stop.
But that's something that it's when I grew up watching.
See, I'm mixed race and I love Vietnamese food.
Exactly.
I hate Vietnamese food.
Melting pot. We like to talk about
Asian food. I can cook Hispanic food, Puerto Rican, Colombian, Dominican. I cook everything.
You should put spices in it.
I do.
we joke about these things at work. One of my supervisors is he is just turned. He's 3 years younger than I am, but we both watched Sanford and Son growing up. The Jeffersons, a lot of shows that were, man, if you're not familiar with them, George Jefferson, he came up. He was a black man who came up. He opened a bunch of he opened a dry cleaner, and he was making money off of that. They bought the song. Well, we're moving on up to the east side to a deluxe apartment in the sky high. We're moving on up, moving on up. I'll sing the whole song, but I want to, just because the song don't make it not true. So he was a black man at this time with money and some status, and people were like, "Oh my goodness, what is this?" He had a maid, but he still had other regular people problems. Sanford and Son was another show. It was a black father and son who owned a junkyard, making money. They were lucrative, but I mean, they lived at the junkyard, so it didn't look posh and all that stuff. But married children, even that show. But can't believe I'm brain farting. All in the Family, another show. They were sitcoms. They were satire based. And, they were lampooning, race relations. They were pointing out, the differences between us and how we can still get together. I mentioned those three shows, All in the Family and the Jeffersons in particular, because All in the Family was a white family, and who would he be? The patriarch, the father, Archie Bunker, Carol. I can't think of his whole name right now, but a phenomenal actor. He'd come home, Jesus, Edith, what's this mess? Where's my dinner? At today's standards, he'd be considered, probably a chauvinist, and he was a little racist, but he didn't have to deal with that. George Jefferson from the TV show The Jeffersons was pretty much the polar opposite. If he came home from work and there was a white guy sitting in his chair or at his table, he'd come in, "Oh, hey, how you doing? Okay." Wheezy was his wife's nickname. "Wheezy, can we go talk in the back?" And you go in the kitchen. "What is that man doing in my chair?" Archie Bunker, kind of same way. And I mentioned the chair because when they did the crossover, Archie comes home from work, and George, who was invited to the house for dinner or whatever, their kids, Lamont and man, I can't think of his daughter's name, got to, they met each other, so they're like, "Oh, come to my house for dinner." Archie comes home, and George, the black man, is sitting in Archie's chair. So now Archie's, "What's this? What's going on here? Jesus, Edith, what is going on?" If they try to make those shows again today, they would be yanked off the air. They'd be canceled quickly. They'd be called racist. They'd be called fascist. They'd be called monsters. But these are the things that we laughed at then, and we got together. We shook hands at the end of the day. We sat at the tables and broke bread together. We were pointing out the shortcomings of each other. We weren't, we've gone from pointing out the shortcomings in ourselves and each other and laughing together to pointing out the splinter in one person's eye while we have a whole tree stuck in our eye. We forget to look back. We forget these things. We've been bred to look at things incorrectly. Like I said earlier, things have been hijacked. Our vision has been hijacked. The fact that, we carry on the things that we do in our family on, my mother's side, my father's side. Granted, my father's side, we've got family split between Virginia and Georgia. And because of health reasons, I haven't been able to drive and travel like I used to. So I don't engage too much, with the things that go on there, and I miss it. I grew up with it. It hurts my soul, but I'm glad that I've had the memories of the times that we did. All right, my grandmother, God bless her, she's 102 years old. My dad's mother is 102 years old. She's my last surviving grandmother, and we got to go down to Virginia. Man, that was a trip. For her 100th birthday. And it was like the parties. It was like the get-togethers. It was like the holidays that I remember when I was 5 years old, when my parents were together, growing up in Willenboro. Um, we had my mom's family, we had my dad's family, all in the same room, all in the same house, black and white, loving, hugging, drinking, eating, sipping, just a beautiful, blessed time together, making jokes. It, the color didn't come into it, but when we did bring it into it, or if we, wanted to mention something about it, we had fun about it. My father, very dark man. Um, he made the joke one time, especially back in the day with just basic film cameras, you had to really adjust your lighting.
Mhm.
ID badges. I remember looking at his ID badge one
Sure.
time, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't want to say what he said, but it was hard to see him in the pictures." Fast forward a couple decades, and we're at one of my aunt and uncle's summertime family reunion, I guess you could say, picnic. We'll just call it that. And we try to make it a point to get a picture every year. So we're like, all right, everybody get together, get together, get together. And I'm standing on the end, and it recalled several pictures from years ago when they were doing this when I was a little guy. And I noticed my dad was in the same spot. And I looked around, I said, wait a minute, am I in the Walter position? And all the folks that were old enough to remember, big laugh. I think it was one of the biggest smiles that everybody had in the pictures, and I don't think I have that picture. So if my family's listening to this and you guys have that picture, can somebody send it to me, please? It was beautiful. I can poke fun at that, And as I said before, the text from my aunt about, well, don't you people usually bring the watermelon? And and then I said, well, that's a vaguely racist statement. I don't know how to answer, but yeah, we bring the watermelon. And she responds with, "Oh, you're a different color than me." Man, just it's beautiful.
Mhm.
My son, ew, that's weird. My son had something. He shows me this picture one day from his high school, and it was during Black History Month,
Mm.
and it had
So
his
lucky.
it had his picture on there, from
At least graduation photo, I think.
on a map of Africa,
Mhm.
and it said African. I think it said something like
African
African
kings and queens.
kings and queens,
Mhm.
or descendants of African
That would
kings and
have
queens.
not have flew in my school if they wanted to put. He's just as white as I am.
Right, but because of his heritage, they included him in this. We got a kick out of it because you can look at him and go, okay, whatever. But he earned that. He is that, and they're not denying that. A few years later, excuse me, Shan gets invited to the, and I can't remember the.
It was a few years before I was still in high school. I don't know if I'm allowed to say the sorority's name,
But they
but
don't have the greatest track record.
weirdly enough, I looked it up. I was like, is, da 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 known to be racist? And it's like, oh no, they accept everybody. They accept everybody. I go, interesting, because my story is senior year, I think it was like 3 girls and 3 boys or something like that, were selected to apply for this scholarship. It was for children who are of African American descent. Of African American descent. Now, the people who were sent to the room, a couple of them were fully of African American descent. Another one was half black and half Hispanic, and the other one was black, white, Native American like me, but much darker than I am. So I think I ultimately ended up being the only one applying, but I remember having to ask one of my teachers for like a letter of recommendation. So I asked my favorite homeroom, favorite interact teacher, and favorite English teacher to write me a letter of recommendation. And I remember telling her, oh, it's for children of African American descent. She just slowly kind of
Yeah.
turns her head at me, and I go, my father's mixed race, my mother is white, I came out like this, my brother and sister got more ink cartridges than I did. And she goes, oh, okay. And I'm like, and it's of African American descent.
Yeah.
So like Elon Musk is African American descent. So like he's from Africa. And if he were to become a US citizen, which I'm not sure he is, I don't know anything about that, he would be African American and he's white. So then I applied for it, I got it. So I'm walking out with a bunch of other people who are either, fully African American, like adopted from like Africa, or, just African American from the United States, or there were black and Asian, black and white, black and Hispanic, but I was the whitest one in there. before that, we were all told, I think, to meet like a week or two prior to record a video. Hi, I'm Shannon. I'm 18 years old. I go to this school. Um, I want to do this when I grow up and I'm going to this college or whatever, basic things. And I will say I did feel a little bit uncomfortable because I felt, it's 2026. There's still segregation to this day. I felt
Yeah,
segregated,
yeah, yeah.
essentially. I
We do
didn't
that
want to be.
naturally.
I'm friends with everybody, but not everybody is friends
Friends
with
with me.
everybody.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there. If they were to be like, oh, like, where's the prompt sheet? And they're looking around for it. Oh, I have one over here. I'm being nice. You need a prompt sheet? And slip it over on the table. And it was cool. Every person there was a person of color. Every worker, every person on the board, every person, who was getting the videos done. Comes the banquet, we're eating our food, the people on the board are talking. We did a different Pledge of Allegiance that I did not recognize.
Right.
Or was it like a national anthem or something? And then he went on to talk about building his own Wakanda. He wants to walk into a
The
room
lawyer.
and see his Wakanda and only see, his people and stuff like that. I'm like, so you only want to see black looking people in there, people of color in there. Whereas I am a mixed race individual and of African American descent and I'm white. So you mean to tell me if I were to have the qualifications, I cannot be in that room? I can't be in the room where it happens. And on the screen, every person's video was played. Every person's video but mine. But mine. I would have remembered. I was the only white looking kid in there. My video was not played. Even my mother, whose patience is thin, whose memory is kind of bad, was also like, they didn't play my daughter's video. And the food they served was cold.
Yeah, it was.
Cold. And on my way out, I remember just being solemn and just talking to mom, being like, I kind of understand why pop-up says, marry within your race. Does kind of make it a little bit easier so you don't have situations like this where your kid feels kicked out for what they look like.
Yeah. And to go a little bit, deeper into that, after a little bit of thinking, I got the anger out of the way. It was two, they picked two students, 2 male, 2 female, and then they would kind of they were narrowed down from that within the high school. And Shannon was picked. And, we had the data to even to support her being picked for this distinction, this opportunity. It was an opportunity for scholarship.
Counselors being so upset,
and then
they were like, "Oh, how was the award?" And I told them everything. They're like, "No, I gotta make a call. That's not right. That's not fair."
Right, and to invite these people all the way out to this place, charge $75 a plate for food,
cold,
serve it cold. And you got there, it was, I'm just picking arbitrary days. Let's say you got there Wednesday and there was 75 to 100 people submitting all these videos. So you mean to tell me after these videos have been submitted in less than 24 hours, your panel went through all this, found the one that, the video and your essay matched everything that you expected, and you had you were able to print out the certificate and this award and this plaque and everything overnight. They already had a winner in mind.
Mm-hmm.
And when they went through these things and they saw your face, it was, the only video that wasn't played.
Either they deleted my video or they never recorded me from the beginning.
Right. And that was cold, man.
And I was the first one there. Because I don't run on CPT.
She wasn't running on CPT
at
the time.
I was there early. But you know what else was crazy?
And we laugh about it.
It was right after school, not the banquet, but when I had to get the video taken. So I think we had to get, it was me, mom, Joe, and Riley in the car. Me, mom, brother, and sister. So of course it's mom, white, me, white, brother. I think it was probably around me. I think he was like tan-ish. He was also a soccer player.
Yeah, he's outside all day.
And then my sister, who looks like him, we're walking into this banquet hall. Like, it's fancy. You don't look fancy at all. I just got done school. We're looking, I gotta go up on the 3rd floor. All right, we're waiting for the elevator. This lady comes by from the ballroom on the first floor. Oh, hi. Are you guys the photographers for this thing? No, we're here for the African American Award.
Yeah.
One, we weren't like, did we look poor that we didn't have any cameras? So did we look poor that we like needed to like take your picture or whatever to like get money? And she's got like a curly headed. Do you see a white mom with a curly headed kid and she needs to get money or whatever?
Right.
And like you didn't think
Are
we
you
were heading
assuming?
up for the African American Award?
Right. Yeah, it's even, you
Plus, we
know,
were waiting for the elevator.
late 2000, you know. People are people. It's, you know, we assume a lot of things, but we have to stop assuming that we've all come so far, because some of us have, but not all of us have. And as a group, there's still a lot that needs to be done. And by group, I don't mean group of, you know, blacks, whites, Hispanics, Puerto Ricans, just humans, people, right? We have to open up a little more. We have to be less, you know, ready to jump and ready to react. We need to open our Bibles more. We need to read Proverbs more. We need to read Isaiah more. Can you tell which books I'm really hooked on right now? Leviticus gets your diet right. Proverbs and Isaiah, from what I'm going through right now, helps you get your mind right. And that broke my heart to hear that my daughter, you know, had gotten this act, this, I'm going to use the wrong word, but to get this opportunity, and then to have that opportunity snuffed away simply because of what you look like, you know, like Martin Luther King said.
I was just about to say Martin Luther King, like, what did he die for?
Right.
Like, he was assassinated, and he spoke about not being. One day, I hope, you know, my kids are judged not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
Right. And she was denied showing her content as character through that video. But the fact that she's here today, not running around talking about this N-word, that N-word, this, you know, this and that, this mother effer, that mother effer, this son of a whatever. You know, sometimes you take the L that's handed to you, not the one that you've earned. All right. Well, let's go to the couple weeks ago, the home run derby. Schwarber, he took the L that was forced upon him. Fixed. Juiced balls. We know it. Still our champ. Still the champ. All right. Jordan Walker, hell of a performance. Not going to deny it. But I saw what happened. Look it up. There's a Netflix. You made a mistake. But anyway, you know, here she is today, still not hating, where a lot of people would have taken that and run with it. You know, we look for reasons, I think. And I can only speak as Americans because I only know Americans. I know a lot of immigrants too. They don't seem to have that issue, at least the ones that I come across. But a lot of us born and raised here in the States, we're almost been brainwashed in a way, hijacked again in a way to, oh, this person did that to you? Man, it's time to hate on that. Man, it's time to hate on this. No, man, no. Like, I don't follow basketball too much, but I'm not a big fan of LeBron James. We're in the Philadelphia area, in case you haven't heard. The Sixers got LeBron James.
Wake me up when it's football season.
I don't care.
Just want football.
I hope he does well. Him and all his flopping on the ground and whining to the refs. I hope he does well. Hey, I might not like the pilot of my plane, but I'm not going to hope that he has a bad day. That man needs to take me off and land me safely. So I hope he does well. But, you know, there's no hate, you know, even though we've received a good amount for what we look like. We've received a good amount because one of us refuses to choose one over the other. I love my mother. I love my father. You know, was it the picture perfect? Is it the picture perfect, you know, father-son relationship, mother-son relationship? No. But I know they love the hell out of me, and they know I love the heck out of them. Don't matter what color they are. Don't matter this, that, and the other thing. My grandparents, whether they're my dad's parents or my mom's parents, summertime came, and it was, let's get them for the weekend. Let's stay with, you know, grandma and pop. Let's stay with, you know, mom and pop for the weekend, for the summer, for the weeks, for whatever. Let's stay with aunt and uncle. It didn't matter. It did not matter. I got, man, culture coming out the wazoo from all my cousins, all my aunties, all my uncles, and I'm double, triply, quadruply blessed in that area. It's, I wrestled with the idea of people talking about representation, and yeah, we need an extra checkbox, on these things, and I'm seeing more and more of it. We need to acknowledge that just because a person is mixed race, and I'm not just talking black and white. Um, I worked with a guy, one of my former jobs. We called him Pookie. Um, he had another nickname. I didn't like calling it that, but he didn't mind. Wang. Why Wang? Can you guess?
Was he white and Asian?
No, he was black and Chinese. I believe he said he was Chinese. I don't want to, misrepresentation, but
I don't like thinking about that.
Nice guy, cool as hell. He was black and Asian and from the South. This guy would drop pearls of wisdom, and I think he may have been a little bit younger than me, that really made me open my eyes to things. But still, he'd crack up with the Asians, he'd crack up with the black guys, he'd crack up with the white guys. It was like, people tell you when you're trying to get dressed, well, black goes with everything. Pookie went with anything. This dude squared away, man. We have to come together. We can't keep putting walls and fences between one another. We have to mingle. We have to fellowship. I don't feel like today we had something to do. Well, I wanted to get this done today after church, so we didn't go across to. I should have, because there was something I needed to get. So we didn't have that fellowship time afterwards. For me, my Sunday, my worship is complete when we leave the sanctuary and head over to the gathering place and have fellowship. Even if it's just the tables, usually, God bless it, if I can get both my girls there, there's 4 of us at the table, but it's usually 2 or 3 of us. And sometimes other folks to join us at the table, which is beautiful because, I'm kind of, a wallflower. Excuse me. When it comes to meeting new people. So when the new people or when other people come to the table, I'm like, thank you, God. I didn't have to, step out my comfort zone. Invade my comfort zone. Please invade it. Push me into uncomfortableness, because then I can bust through that wall real easy and we can speak. We can do. Yeah, we got to tear down walls. We got to add some check boxes. We got to come together. Like I said in a lot of my earlier podcasts, what's the world hate? What's the devil hate? What are the powers that be that are trying to divide us hate? They hate unity. They hate it when we come together. They rather see this. They keep it this way on purpose. Because if we're separate, then we're not as strong as we can be together. And if we're strong enough together, with 2 or more people, God, thank you. With 2 or more people gather in my name, here am I. And they don't want that. The world doesn't want it. The devil don't want it.
A nation divided is a nation conquered.
Exactly. If united we stand, divided we fall. I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees. When I die, dump me off the boat. Bury me at sea, like my ancestors who knew it was better to jump ship and drown than to live a life in chains. I'm getting goosebumps. But I thought this was important. It felt good. It felt great as a man, as a mixed man, as a mixed race man who is making his journey through life. And now, with Christ on his side, Christ has always been on my side, but now that I am alert to it and I'm by his side, to do this with my daughter, unfriggin' believable. I give all thanks. Woo! We're hitting an hour on this, John.
Yeah.
I give all thanks and all praise to God. I thank you, Shan, for giving me this opportunity. I thank you for being my daughter. Thank God my computer didn't overheat to do this. It's trying to. I can hear it.
CPU every so often.
God, thank you. I hope this episode reaches, just like all the other ones. It reaches somebody. It lands on somebody's heart and ears that needed to hear this. That feels maybe there's somebody out there who's watching this that feels a little alone, or doesn't doesn't have the confidence to navigate confidently through the life as being a mixed person. Again, you don't have to be mixed black and white. It's just what I am, so that's all I can speak on. But as we mentioned, we know people who are mixed, all different nationalities. Very rarely are you going to find somebody who is 100% anything, 100% that. Oddly enough, side note, my wife is damn near 100% European.
Pretty sure she is.
It's crazy. But yeah, let's tear down the walls, man. Let's keep coming together. Let's help each other tear down these walls. And man, if anybody that if Mr. Fred that I used to work with, if he happens to hear this, or one of his relatives, thank you, Fred. If Miss Royal or any of her relatives happen to hear this, thank you, Mrs. Royal. Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Dad, Grandmom, Grandpops, aunts and uncles, cousins. Man, thank you all, guys, because it's I didn't do this alone. None of us got to where we are totally on our own. Thank you to my family. Thank you to my daughter. Thank you to my other daughter and my son. You guys, and my wife, who bore most of the pregnancies. All right, she bore all three of them. Thank you, God. This was good, and I hope it's great, and I hope it does great things for the rest of us. And we're gonna do this again, and don't worry, we'll be back again with jumping on track again with life principles. So with that being said, and us hitting that 1 hour mark, gosh, that was one of the best hours ever spent. We went longer than church went today. Well, with that, I'm going to say thank you, and until next time, I'm offline.